We've got the man of the hour right now getting ready to get down there to Chapel Hill. Michael Lombardi joins the program now. Follow him on X as I do at MLombardiNFL. And now we can say for the first time, the new GM of UNC football. Michael, congratulations. I know it's got to be a whirlwind for you in the last 24 hours. Can you tell us just how everything unfolded yesterday once the news became official that Bill Belichick was taking over at UNC?
Well, thank you, David. It's certainly a pleasure to be here. And I want to thank everybody at VSiN who has been listening to the Lombardi Line, listened to GM Shuffle, and has made me really thankful for the job that I have, and especially the Musburger family and Bill A.D. They've been incredible to me. But this came together because Bill wanted to go back to college. I think if you read the David Halberstam book, Education of a Coach, Halberstam predicted that one day Belichick would go back to college football because he values teaching so much. And I think the landscape of college football has changed dramatically in the sense that it is pay for play. And, you've got to evaluate the players on the roster. You've got to put a dollar sign on the player. And then you've got to be able to motivate and coach within the framework of monetary compensation. So, for me and my relationship with Coach Belichick, once he decided he wanted to do this, and then he asked me if I wanted to do it, then, I thought, why not? This is the perfect time, the perfect setting, and for my wife and I to go back down there and enjoy, college football in the most incredible little town that is going to be a football town in the future.
Michael, congratulations as well from me. Our relationship has been a lot over the past years, and I thank you for that and wish you success. You've talked about how the role and how college football landscape has changed to resemble the pros. Speak to me about how it will be different from what you did as a player personnel person and a GM in the NFL to what you will do as this new GM position in Division I college football.
Not much, Mike. I think we're going to build a pro personnel department, and that pro personnel department really will be the transfer portal. So that will be what we build there to monitor all the college teams, whether it's in the ACC, the Big Ten, the Southeast Conference, or in any conference, right? The new Pac-12. So you have to monitor all the players just like you would in pro football. And then obviously you'll have a director of college scouting, but that guy will be the director of high school scouting and monitor all the high schools. North Carolina has a great fan base. They have a tremendous recruiting area in the Tidewater area in Virginia. They haven't been into Florida as much in recent years, but there has been a time where they were very good in that state. So we're going to try to expand it to a national program, which it should be. I mean, when you mention North Carolina, that brand is significant. It may be associated with basketball, but we're going to bring that brand out on a national level. We've had two quarterbacks drafted in the first pick in the first round, Mitchell Trubisky and Drake May, and so it has an appeal to quarterbacks, and we're going to continue that along with having a pro-style offense. So, I think the job's going to stay pretty much like it was. We're just going to reframe the name of the job, but it's going to be pretty much the same, and it's going to be 24/7. The difference will be there's no structure, right? We won't have a draft, and there'll be deadlines in terms of the portal, but we can work around that.
Michael, it's fascinating. You can hear the excitement in your voice of this new challenge and what it does mean to you and Bill Belichick getting the band back together as it is. How did that translate? When you guys discussed it, you and Bill, why did you know this was the right move for both of you to go down to Chapel Hill at this time?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with North Carolina. I mean, I think when you look at the school, and it goes back to 1992, it's kind of ironic how things become they turn over, right? So in 1992, we're on the campus of North Carolina. It was cold in Cleveland. We were getting ready for the draft, and we went down there because you're in that research triangle where you have about 5 different schools that you can scout, right? So we went down there and we stayed at the Carolina Inn, which is right on campus. We brought Jim Schwartz was our one of our scouting assistants, who's now the defense coordinator of the Browns. We set up a little office down there. We watched tape all day. We went for a jog, went to a baseball game, and we both looked at each other. And this is 1992, and we said, "How the hell can't they win here?" And I think that's a true story, and that is really what sparked this. Is like you're on that campus and you look around and you say, how can't they win here? And I'm not saying Mac Brown didn't win, but I'm talking about winning at a level to get to this 12-team playoff.
Michael, I want to talk about the argument about cultural fit. And I understand North Carolina isn't the deep South, but, in recent years, we've seen Brian Harsin go from the Pacific Northwest to the plains of Jordan. That didn't work out. Joe Moorhead from Pittsburgh in the Rust Belt to Mississippi State. That didn't work out. And you can even argue Kalen DeBoer from South Carolina to Tuscaloosa. Disappointing that they don't make the playoffs. You obviously from New Jersey, and you and Bill path has been in northern states or in the far west, not in the South. Do you think there's any challenge to a cultural fit?
Well, I'm sure I'll probably have a harder time getting great Italian food, but that's what I have Millie for. So, I think to me, look, I think this is all about, do you want to be a great player? Do you want to be a pro? And territory doesn't really matter. And the language that we're going to speak won't have a draw, but it's going to have an appeal to these players if they want to go on and play pro football. And I think that's what we have to resonate to. Look, I'm sure there'll be a cultural shift, and I'm sure there are things that'll be different there. And I'm sure I don't know if I'll be quite like the guy and my cousin Vinny wondering what the hell's going on and talking about Utes, but I will be, we will be able to connect on a football level, which I think is the most important thing.
Michael, we talk a lot and kid a lot about, like day one, this would be what I do on day one of my administration, right? You and Bill with this new administration, what are those day one things that you're really going to look to change down there at UNC?
Well, because of the portal and because of all the changes that go on within the portal, I mean, we got to get a quarterback. You got to get offensive and defensive linemen. It's the same thing. Nothing's really going to change on this at all, because at the end of the day, we're going to build a football team the same way we've always built a football team, inside out, and with the offensive line, with the quarterback, and all the things that I talked about on VSiN, on the Lombardi Line, and on GM Shuffle. That's going to be the manifesto for when we go down there. That's going to be the first thing first. Do we have a quarterback? Can we protect? Do we have an offensive line? Do we have a defensive line? Those are the pillars that we're going to start and stress and build on for the remainder of our time. So I think that's the first action that we have to take. It's not about adding players. It's about building the team.
Michael, the nearest comp I can draw to this is ironically also another mentor of yours. The last time the greatest coach in NFL history stepped away from the pro game and went back to college was Bill Walsh, who returned to Stanford. And although he had a successful first year in 92, 93 and 94 were not good. 7-14-1, 2-6 both years in the Pac-10. Why will this be different for Bill Belichick than it was for Bill Walsh?
Well, I think the rules are different, Mike. I mean, Bill had to rely on recruiting. The academic standards at Stanford are just really challenging. And because it was about, do you want to come to school here? You're competing against teams that had more resources to help players. Now the field's somewhat balanced. I mean, we see it with this 12-team playoff. Who could have ever thought that Indiana was going to go undefeated until the Ohio State game? I think a lot of this is because of the NIL. Look, do I think this would have happened without the players getting paid in NIL? Probably not, because it all comes down to resources and how much commitment people want to make. So I think the landscape is completely different now, and that's why Nick Saban, with 20 guys wanting to get into his office for a raise, left, and that's why Bill Belichick will enter, because he's used to having 20 guys at his office who want to raise.
Michael, you know how this works and how quickly things change in 24 hours. We've already got a win total next year for UNC. It's sitting at 6.5. Heavy juice to the over minus $1.70. That is mad respect for you and Bill Belichick in year one. But seriously, the goal is, right, it's college football playoff, because you mentioned SMU. We saw how close Syracuse got there in the ACC. Are you guys already thinking in those terms that we can flip this thing around quickly?
Oh, I think what we're thinking about is how are we going to build this team the right way. I think that's the most important thing. And then I know this, we're going to have the greatest coach of all time coaching the team, and he's going to coach the coaches. And we're going to be really good at situational football, and we're going to be really detailed, and we're going to be really a mentally tough football team. And I don't know how those translates into wins, but that's what the program's going to stand for.
Michael, congratulations on this move. I know you got a million things to do, putting a staff together, getting in there and evaluating talent. But thank you for all you've done on VSiN, and much success to you. Instead of wishing you good luck, we'll say congrats early.
Absolutely, Michael.
Well, thank you. And wish Derek Stevens. Look, I appreciate everything from Circa and everybody who's been involved with VSiN. It's been the best 6 years of my life. It was a blessing to be able to work for this network and to be able to connect to people, whether it's in the betting community or just great football fans. So I've been really blessed. My wife and I are ecstatic about this next move, but we do leave bittersweet because of all the great things that have happened with Derek and the Musburger family. Thank you, guys.
Well, you know that we're all rooting for you here. You've got new fans out in the desert now that we're all going to bleed Carolina blue. So, Michael, go get them. We'll be watching the introductory press conference. Best of luck and congratulations once again from everybody here at VSiN.
Thank you both.
There he is, everybody. Michael Lombardi, the new GM of UNC football. Absolutely amazing, joining us here in the Progressive Guest Line.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at zero cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.